You're listening to Mic Drop Moments, a podcast brought to you each week with me, your host, Sandra Garlick. During the podcast, I invite guests to share their amazing stories, knowledge and top tips, including their mic drop moments, especially for you. I also share my learning and inspiration about life, business growth and visibility. I'm delighted to bring the Mic Drop Moments podcast to you each week to inspire and motivate you to achieve. Enjoy the podcast and don't forget to leave a review. Mic Drop Moments is sponsored by Grow Radio. Want to launch your own podcast? Grow Radio are here to help. Grow Radio has launched and supported countless podcasts, and they'd love to do the same for you. Just hit record and they'll handle the rest. No editing stress, no technical faff, just a great podcast released when you want. Need a little extra support? Grow Radio's workshops and courses make getting started easy. Let's bring your podcast to life. Message Grow Radio on social media. Let's make this happen. Welcome to Mic Drop Moments. Today's episode's all about a word we hear constantly in business, growth. But we're not going down the usual route of spreadsheets and scaling. Today, I want to talk to you about your version of growth because success doesn't look the same for everyone and it really shouldn't. So whether you're just starting out, growing steadily or leading something bigger than yourself, this episode is just for you. So let's get straight into it. So the first thing I want to say that is growth isn't a one size fits all at all. When people talk about growth, it usually sounds like bigger numbers, bigger teams, bigger offices. I remember when I first started out in business, all I wanted was the great big team and the great big glass office. You know, that was the kind of thing that I really went after. But the women I work with, and I include myself in this, we often want something else. We want freedom. We want flexibility. We want fulfillment. So growth might be replacing your salary, working a 4-day week, or in my case, trying to get to a 3-day week, or simply switching off guilt-free at the weekend. It might be finally saying no to something that doesn't serve you anymore. And here's the truth. Your version of growth is valid and it's powerful and it's yours. It's not anybody else's, it's yours. So let's talk about starting out, which I like to call the foundation phase. So when I first started out, it's almost 20 years ago now, but let's talk about the early days because I remember them. I remember them well, and we all have to start somewhere. So when you're just launching your business, growth doesn't look like 6 figures or a massive team. It looks like getting your first client or customer. I never forget that moment. Sending your first invoice and thinking, oh, did I actually get paid for this? And telling somebody with confidence, yeah, I run my own business. But going back to that first customer, I think my first ever customer, and I was a solicitor at the time and I had a solicitor's practice, and I did something called a £50 letter. Sending that invoice for that £50, you'd have thought it was £5,000 the way I celebrated it. But it was a milestone. And honestly, one of the biggest signs of growth at this start out stage is internal. It's the mindset shift. It's going from employed to self-employed, but then it's learning how to charge your worth because that £50 letter certainly didn't serve me. In fact, it was a loss leader, but it got me started. But it's about the mindset of backing yourself, even when that imposter syndrome whispers, are you sure you can do this? And I remember people saying to me, oh, you know, it's really risky setting up your own business. And the company I left was saying, you'll only last 3 months. It was all this negative external pressure that was coming in, and it can affect you, and it can get that imposter syndrome really working so that that self-talk is negative, and you need to turn that round, because the excitement of starting out needs to outweigh all those nagging little voices. And you don't need to scale overnight. You just need to build something steady, something real, and something that's yours. So let's talk about the growth phase. So once you've found your rhythm and you've been trading for a while, and I'd say in the six to sort of 18 months, 2 years period, because you're really starting up, you're learning everything during that initial period. And that's when the growth starts to shift. When you've found your rhythm, you know what works, and you don't have to prove it anymore. Now you're refining it, you're tweaking it. And then growth becomes about looking at the profit, not just the revenue. It's about instilling boundaries over burnout. And that's something I didn't understand when I was a new business. And it's about visibility over invisibility. You know, I talk about visibility a lot. But let me go back to the profit. Learning what your profit is key. It's a key metric, because if you're not profitable, you're going to go downhill very quickly. And that's where I learned very quickly about cash flow. Cash is king, as they say. And if you haven't got the cash in the bank to pay the wages or the VAT bill or anything else, then you're going to crash and burn very early. So learning about what's revenue, what's profit, what cash you need, and cash flow was critical to me in the early stages. And those boundaries, setting those boundaries over burnout, I think it was 2 or 3 years before I even took a break. I used to work every holiday, every night, every moment. I loved it. I was excited about it, but I didn't know how to switch off. But one thing I did know how to do, and that was to make myself visible. I made myself visible very quickly, and you know I can share lots of tips about that. I'm briefly interrupting this podcast to tell you about the Who Solopreneur Awards 2025. They're open to sole traders and sole directors based in the UK. Entries open on the 1st of June. Simply visit womanwho.co.uk/awards. This is your opportunity to share your story, your achievements, and your goals and aspirations for the future. Plus, entering awards is a fantastic way to boost your visibility. Early bird tickets and sponsorship to opportunities are also available. Now back to the podcast. Maybe in the growth phase you've started outsourcing. I always say the first thing you should think about doing when you start a business is outsource those tasks you don't love anymore, the ones you hate, the ones that drag you down, the ones that go to the bottom of the to-do list every single day. Those things where you go, oh, I really don't want to do that. Finally, handing over my accounts to an accountant, or handing over your social media, or handing over your admin to a VA, EA, everything A, as I've got. And just letting go of those things that drain your energy, especially those clients that drag you down. And it's learning to start saying no. And it's really hard thing to do when you're, going through that growth phase and you want more clients, but you get to learn really quickly the clients you don't want to work with. And it's about owning your space and showing up publicly with confidence, and be very confident in saying, I'm really sorry, I can't help you, and referring them elsewhere. And you're no longer just building a business at this stage, you're shaping your lifestyle. And this was the biggest learning for me. It wasn't just about having a business, it was creating a lifestyle that fitted into where my business fitted into my lifestyle, not the other way around. So in the early stages of business for me, I fitted into my business, and my business was everything, and my life, my family, everything had to fit within the parameters of that business. And I've been on a journey myself, and I'm sure many of you have. And then it's about claiming back and owning that space, and putting in those boundaries and saying, hang on a minute, I want my holidays, I want to have downtime, I want to take up some hobbies, I want to do other things. and making the business fit around them. So I always say the first thing that goes in my diary every single year are my holidays, family moments, things that I know that I want to do, and the business fits around them. So what about then when you've established your success and you're scaling and you've really got to where you want to be? And maybe you're further along your journey, maybe you're running, a multi-six-figure business by now and mentoring others, and your growth evolves again. And this is where I love giving back and I love paying it forward. It becomes about influence, it becomes about legacy and the bigger picture. You're not just delivering anymore, you're leading. And you're not just saying yes to opportunities, but you're creating opportunities for others. I love creating opportunities for others. I love seeing women speak on my stages. I love helping them find their stories. I love bringing them out from behind the shadows and into the spotlight. So growth at this stage could be stepping into a CEO role, expanding your offers, entering new markets, or simply using your experience through mentoring to lift each other up. I help people with their speaking and supporting them in their growth. And then you can start asking those deeper questions. What exactly am I building? Who am I becoming? Who do I want to be? What legacy do I want to leave behind? Do I want to exit this business? Do I want to sell it? Do I want to just have a lifestyle business? It isn't just business anymore. It's about impact. And the impact is yours alone to shape how you want to. So growth, as I say, is different for every single person. Business growth is about growing a business to the business you want it to be. I hear a lot of people saying, you must have this revenue, you must turn over this, you must get to a 6-figure, 7-figure, 8-figure business. Not everybody wants that. Some people just want a lifestyle business that fits around their family and fits around their dreams and wishes, their goals and aspirations. So let's just have a bit of reflection here. And I want you to think, maybe pause the podcast or maybe grab a cuppa and listen to it again. I want you to ask yourself, what does the next level of your business feel like? Not just look like, what does it feel like? What are you ready to let go of so that you can grow? And that might be a client or a contract. I let go of a big contract last year to allow me personal growth, to allow me to have the lifestyle around my work style, to let me have that freedom, that flexibility, to let me have that 3-day week. How will you know you've grown? Is it a feeling? Is it a figure, a pound sign, or is it something else? I've made it really public that my word of the year this year was simplify. And so everything I'm doing now is all about simplifying, making it simple, simplicity. And I landed on that after reflecting deeply on what success means to me right now and what business growth means to me right now. So your version will, and I hope it does, look completely different to mine. And that's exactly how it should be. My growth strategy should not look anything like anybody else's. They might have some similar elements, but it wouldn't look the same. It would look very different because every growth strategy is personal to you. Everybody's business growth, everybody's idea of success is different. So if today's episode has sparked something in you, or if you're ready to get clearer, more visible, or take a bolder step in your business, I'd absolutely love to support you. I currently have a couple of one-to-one VIP days available. These are bespoke deep dive sessions where we focus entirely on you and your next move, whatever that is, whether it's refining your message, mapping out a new offer, or planning how to get visible and stay visible. We'll work together to make it happen. Just drop me a message, no pressure, just a friendly chat to see if we're the right fit. And remember, own your space. Use your voice, and remember, you're here to make an impact. Until next time. Thank you for listening to the Mic Drop Moments podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Join me next week for more inspiration, learning, and top tips. Want to work with me on your business growth and strategy, speaking, or simply growing your audience? Just get in touch. Visit womanwho.co.uk to find out how you can start your speaking and visibility journey, or even feature on a future podcast. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss next week's podcast. And if there are any topics you would like to hear, just get in touch with me, your host, Sandra Garlick.